Hello.
Hi, friends. We are very excited to be here with you today.
We're definitely not at Stand Up New York.
Wait, this isn't Stand Up New York?
No.
Well, shit.
Due to some unforeseen, unexpected circumstances, we are recording this at home.
Yeah, it's,
Ugh,
life.
we're late. Yeah.
Life. We are so excited to be here with you. This hometown episode was so hard to get through.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I was not excited to see that.
I agree.
In any way, shape, or form.
Let me pull up the chat. All right, good morning,
hopped on
everybody.
a little later today. We're kind of having a pivot from going to Stand Up New York. Instead, we're home. We're going to try to be there next time. And any housekeeping before we get into this
just if you're
clusterfuck?
listening to the podcast, feel free to skip through this first little part and check out our YouTube video. If you're just listening to the podcast, you can see the interaction and what it's like. And if you are with us on YouTube, thank you for being here. Be sure to click the thumbs up button on the video, which I'll probably say like 4 more times during this live stream. And just the only other thing is, hey Amanda, hey Maria, hi Cassie. I do have a sore throat, which is part of why we did not go out today. So I do have a cough drop in my mouth, and I apologize for any sounds that cough drop provides that are not typical. So I'll try to do my best to hold my microphone away from my face when moving the cough drop, but that just so you know, full transparency. That's what's going on. Hi, Hallie.
I appreciate that full transparency. I think we sound all right. We're trying to figure out kind of our last minute setup in here, and so we are gonna just go for it, I think.
Well, I would love to start just, if you're here with us on YouTube, if you had to describe the hometown episode using one word, how would you describe it? And if you're listening to this later, you're not here live with us, tag us in a post on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook and let us know this one word. I would love to know. Hi, Clarissa.
What would your one word for this episode be?
My one word for this episode? Clusterfuck. No, it would actually be sad. Sad is my overall feeling.
I think mine is a phrase. And
that's not a word.
Well, I'm going to go with mine instead. Mine is 2 lies and a truth. Yeah. It's the opposite of 2 truths and a lie.
Amanda says garbage. Amina says frustrating. Yes.
Word.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right.
So let's dive in. Oh,
God.
Yeah. Emily says messy.
Yeah.
We got crazy.
Yeah.
Cancel. Yes. I'm not going to lie. There was a moment where we paused the show and I looked at Kyle and I said, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's getting really hard to watch as a viewer. And I don't know. Yeah. Cassie says tiring. I don't know if you all are experiencing this, but I love this show so much. I love The Bachelor. I think that there is something so, relaxing about watching it, and for most of this season I have not gotten that relaxation that I typically get watching it. It feels very tense. This episode in particular was infuriating on so many levels. Yes, Amanda in the chat says it's becoming exhausting. It really is. Like, I'm feeling tired. I feel like I'm on the show.
Has Peter had fun through the entirety of a single episode yet? Like, has he been in a good mood the entire time so far is what I'm trying to remember, because, I mean, like...
It's a good question.
Even, like, the last couple Bachelors that I watched, even, like, Colton and Ari, like, they had episodes where they were like, this was great, I had a great time.
Right.
I'm not worried about the future whatsoever. And Peter, every single time, he's like, I don't know what's happening, I need to figure this out, I am really worried, I feel really uncomfortable. And maybe he's more adept at accessing his emotions in their entirety, unlike maybe Colton and Ari. However,
possible.
He is not happy.
Yeah.
In this.
And part of it is his doing and part of it is not.
Completely.
So let's just dive in. So obviously this is the hometown episode. It's episode 8.
Yep.
And we have Hannah Ann, Kelsey, Victoria F, and Madison.
Yep.
So we start with Hannah Ann, and Hannah Ann's date was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And this date was interesting. I had a mixed feeling of thoughts.
A mixed feeling of thoughts.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
How'd you think about those
sore
feelings?
Throat is really getting into my brain. So Hannah Ann starts by saying that you know that someone is right for you when you forget everything else in the world.
I know what she's trying to say, but that's...
In that moment, I was like, I'm out.
Not true.
I'm... This perpetuated narrative around that someone completes your world or makes everything else disappear. Like, I love Kyle so much. We still have bills and we still run our respective businesses and have jobs and clients and family and friends, and
You need to eat, breathe, drink water,
take
sleep.
showers,
Yeah,
like
go to the bathroom.
go see the dentist. There are so many things that need to be done and that I want to do that have nothing to do
No.
with you.
No.
And that comment really stood out to me. And I think what she means is like when she's with him,
like everything goes
everything
away.
is just like happy and lovely,
Yeah, I think it's...
which is fine. And that's also going to fade away just because of that's
Life.
normal.
Yeah.
It's normal for that new relationship energy or NRE to fade away. But yeah, that struck me a lot. And that's kind of how we started on the episode. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I know she was trying to say, and at the same time, part of me is like, she is 23, like a little bit of a naive view of the
Yes.
world, a little bit overly enthusiastic. I get it. And it's also one of my issues with this season of the show is that having the casting be so young, there's just a disparity between someone who, like Peter, is looking for a partner who's mature, who's emotionally engaged. That's why we were so into Kelly being one of the final girls, and that's why I'm still honestly surprised that she didn't stay longer. Because
Well, she didn't validate him enough. And he,
needs
unfortunately,
validation.
right now needs a lot of validation.
Well, I mean, okay, so we get into the hometown date, and they're getting ready to go see Hannah Ann's dad, and so...
She says... She says that to impress her dad. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
No. Well, so you took more detailed notes in a lot of ways than I did on this because my brain was sort of pouring out of my ears during most of this. But she basically tells Peter that to impress her dad, he needs to be a real tough man. And I put that in quotes because that's what the exact phrasing
She
was.
said real man, in quotes.
Real tough man? I thought it was real tough man.
I didn't hear tough.
Whatever. It sounds like some sort of bullshit packaging to get men in. Like, oh, this is the real tough man version of something. Like, whatever that means. So she's going to make a real man or a real tough man out of Peter, which is to say...
That he's not?
He's not, or she needs to make him something else so her dad will like him, but she likes him as is. So what does that mean? And that's problematic. Does she want Peter to fuck her dad? Like... Who's dating who? Why does Peter being her dad's perfect guy mean as much as someone who makes her happy? And so my problem with this...
That is an excellent point, babe.
My problem with this is that she doesn't take him to like an emotional support counseling group where you can share your feelings and show your, internal fortitude.
Or that vulnerability is strength.
Vulnerability is strength. No, she doesn't go to like an orphanage and like hang out with the kids and provide support and help. She doesn't do something that would imply that men have feelings or they can express them.
But Kyle, her dad works in forestry, so therefore
Oh.
being a man has
Oh.
to do with working with wood.
Another very sexual innuendo
Yes.
situation. So what they do to do the real man training that Peter has not gone through in his multiple, like 20 years
of manhood.
Yeah, and also, how is being a pilot not enough? That's something that I don't understand. Did her dad not see Top Gun?
But okay, yes, and why are we so obsessed as a culture with gendering? And like,
And why is chopping wood such a testament
But
to masculinity.
What if for her, the type of partner she wanted to be with didn't like that?
Well, that's not good enough for her dad.
Right, but that's...
Right. So that's the problem.
Yes. So they go axe throwing.
Okay,
And
this is the dumbest thing. They didn't go out into a forest with an axe and she's like, figure it out, Peter. There's a forest, you've got an axe, be a man. They went to a thing you go pay money for and do anytime. Like, we went to a wrecking room together, and that's like breaking stuff is like a very masculine gendered thing. Was I not trying to teach you to be a real man in that case?
Maybe. Is that why you took me?
So they go to an axe throwing place.
Which in itself is not a bad thing. Just like
No.
us going to a wrecking room is not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
go shoot guns at a shooting range. Like, it literally doesn't matter. It was the context of why they were doing it that stood out to me as being like, oh, that's interesting. There were a lot of people watching. Then he chops wood. And
Celebrates it somehow.
yeah, it's like, okay, cool. And Peter, this actually was my favorite part of the entire date. Peter wrote Hannah Ann a letter back. And Hannah Ann had written him a letter that was, however many things I love about you. And he did the same thing for her. And I loved this moment. It was one of the more like...
It was sweet.
It was sweet. And I heard him say things about her that I have not seen. And so what I appreciated was we got a little more insight as viewers into why they're connected because of all of the drama that's been going on this season. And frankly, because of like people like Victoria F that have taken up so much of the episode time.
So annoying.
We have not gotten to see him and Hannah Ann have like deep conversation. And so hearing some of these things that he loved about her, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I wish we could have seen the whole thing and read through it because I thought that it gave so much insight into their actual relationship.
I agree. Hallie brings up in the chat, was Peter not in the axe throwing date from last season? I knew that was something from a previous episode or previous season. I was like, I know axe throwing.
Yeah,
been
they
used
did
by
like
the
a
Bachelor.
wood chopping because Venmo
That's
John.
right. Yeah, Venmo John showed everybody up. So I thought the letter thing was super, super sweet. And this plays into my other issue that's been going on with Hannah Ann. It's kind of what you talked about. We're not seeing their interactions that are healthy.
Correct.
In the, last episode, I think, when she walked away, or he walked away, and there was a lot of crying, and he's like, you've convinced me that you're here for the right reasons, and all of that. We never saw that conversation. We just saw him go away because he was upset she couldn't emotionally connect. Her go after him.
Oh,
they
on
say
their
like,
one-on-one date.
Yeah, they say like 10 words, and then he's like, you've shown me. We don't see what that actually is, but him referencing how she names all of the dresses she wears throughout the entire season, that shows they've had so much more in-depth conversations.
Right. Even something like
not,
surface level like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's just something we're not seeing, which to me would really help round out this season of the show, instead of seeing Victoria F just be horrible the entire time.
Yeah.
I do have one gripe with the beginning part of this date, and I know it's a TV show, and I know there's a whole team of production around. It's just one of these things. They walk to each other at the very beginning, and so she does the leg lock thing, which I will, spoiler alert, he gets a leg lock from every single contestant.
Well,
in this
that's like a
episode.
Bachelor thing now. That's
Thanks.
like using
It's
the
'cause of
word
Becca.
journey.
It's because of Becca.
It's like journey, right reasons, and leg locking.
Becca's one negative contribution to the franchise. Maybe Colton was actually a negative contribution too. Anyway, they have their umbrellas, and they hug, and they're like, oh my god, we're in the rain, let's go on our date. And then these leave their umbrellas on the ground and walk away. Like, I know production grabbed them. They didn't literally just leave them there and litter. But come on.
Yeah.
Come on. It looks stupid.
So a commercial, then they are walking up to Hannah Ann's house, and they're both nervous. They talk about how they have a lot of emotions, and that feels very appropriate.
It is.
I think that it would be nerve-wracking at any point to meet somebody that you care about's parents. Well, I know it is. But in this context especially, it's really nerve-wracking. Like, First of all, the parents are not used to having cameras around.
Right.
So as the contestant, the thought of like, I don't know how my family is going to act on camera, or I don't know what production has said to them. Like, I would be freaked out on not only them meeting the person, but then also like are they going to be total dicks? Like, how are
Right.
they going to come off on TV? Or, like, am I going to cry? There's just so many dynamics. So they walk in, and you can tell right from the get that Hannah Ann's dad is very much not really, he's a bit off-put. And I understand. Like, it's a very bizarre formula to come home and be like, I'm in love. And that makes sense.
Right, and there's like a million people, and like coming into your house, or maybe it's not even their house, because they often rent houses out and put the families in there to make it appear, because not everyone has seating for like 12 people in their house, or their house doesn't look photogenic enough, or the lighting's not perfect. Any one of the million reasons production can move the thing around. It seemed nice. The dad was standoffish, but I also wonder what the producers are saying to the family beforehand. And I wonder how much interaction there is, because this is the same archetype we see in every season of The Bachelor, where the guy goes into the family's house and the dad's like, are you going to take my little girl away? And then either 5 minutes later, he's like, aha, I'm actually normal, and they just told me to say that. Or there's this super, super awkward confrontation where the dad's like, well, I think this, and that's the way it is. And then
which is kind of what we get into, and that I want to focus on. So her sister and Hannah Ann go and talk, and her sister cries. She says she's never seen Hannah Ann this happy before. It was very nice. It was a very sisterly, supportive chat.
There was one thing I didn't like in the chat, and it was the acknowledging of the letter that Pete wrote back to her, where the sister says, I didn't write the exact quote down because it hurt me a little bit to write it. Well, if a guy writes down 20 reasons why he likes you, then that's really it. Is that it? That's the bar? That's how low it is at this point?
I did not take it that way.
No?
I took that as, like, he obviously cares a lot about you back. And that was her, because she asked her before that, like, has he told you that he loves you?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, he wrote me this letter. Like, she was explaining how she knows.
Do you think the sister acknowledging that is her, like, well, then, yeah, he's, like, in love with you if he'll do, like...
Potentially, and not that I agree with that necessarily, but I don't think she was talking about like all men in general or all relationships in general.
Got
to
it.
me, it was more of like the contextual Bachelor.
Got it. Okay.
Thing.
I'm gonna write you a list of 20 reasons why I love you.
Please do. I would love to receive.
Wait, if we're already married, should I only write a list of 10? Like, they're trying to get to the marriage point. Should I? No.
Write 30. Anyway, then Hannah Ann's mom and Peter go talk. And for the most part, this is going very well. It's fine. Like, she's present with him. And then she says something that made me want to crawl out of my skin and hide under my couch, which was her dad is not just going to give her away to anybody. As though Hannah Ann is a literal item that they have control over. Like, here, I have my phone, and I'm not going to give my phone away to just anyone. I own this to give away.
Yeah.
Because if you can give something away, that means that you own it. That is yours to give away.
Yeah.
I hated this. I hated it. And I understand that it is an expression of like a linguistic expression where the dad gives away the daughter at the wedding, right? Like, I had both my parents walk me down the aisle at our wedding. That's just how we did it. However, someone could say Rachel had both of her parents give her away at the wedding. I understand that that's a phrase and an expression that people use.
Yeah, we didn't go in a back room and sign some contract you're not aware of.
Right. However, the way that it was used in this conversation literally felt like he will give her away to someone.
Like, here are the keys, here's the pink slip.
Yes.
Make sure you go to the DMV and register her. Like, whatever you need to do. But, like, and it's so problematic because, one, it's incredibly, like, objectifying. And then also, like, she's a piece of property. When...
It's old. It's an old school... It's like when we had dowries.
Right, because she's 23, she's past the age of making her own decisions.
Like, she gets
legally.
to choose for herself.
Right. It's...
And here's the thing, is we can chalk it up to just, well, that's just how some people have talked. But if we don't start changing that, it doesn't change.
Right, and the issue is, and why we will harp on these particular topics sometimes is that there's like 20 million people who watch this show. And if that's just the way it is, and then if you were to go to ask people individually, like, hey, do you really think that women are objects and men control them until they choose not to and they give them away to somebody else and that's how the life works? Most individuals would say, well, no, that sounds crazy. And yet, it's just the way it is on The Bachelor, and that's just the way families are, and blah, blah, blah. Is it just the way it is that women are objects and property?
Right. So it's not that we're trying to nitpick or say, like, sit on some high horse and talk from there. It's that if we don't question these things, and when I say we, like
Society.
like collectively, then they just keep happening.
Yeah.
And it takes us looking at, as humans, what does my language actually mean here? And when we say something like, give her away, in the context of the mom, like, her dad is not just going to give her away to anyone. It's not her dad's choice.
Right.
Who she is with. He doesn't get to decide that.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue of it to me.
Right.
And if she wants that, like if Hannah Ann is like, I want my dad to approve of the guy I'm with, even that is different language.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you rephrase the same concept, the dad could easily be like, I don't want you to go off with a guy who won't be a supportive partner to you.
Right.
That's where I'm concerned you won't be a supportive partner for my daughter.
Or
I don't want her to be in this situation or in this kind of a relationship.
Or I'm concerned that the values don't align. I'm concerned that you're more conservative and he seems more... not that that's the case here. I don't really know anything about Hannah Ann's background.
No.
But all of those things are still different from her father is not just going to give her away to anybody.
Right.
Okay. So then Peter and Rick, her dad, sit down. And her dad actually, and this is the one thing I will give him fucking props for. He asks Peter a question that I have always wished a parent would ask.
Oh, which was it?
How does Hannah Ann compare to, like, how do your feelings for Hannah Ann compare to your feelings for the rest of the women?
It's so nice to see them acknowledge that it's a show still.
Yes.
And it's a competition.
Now, obviously, Peter does not answer that, and he's like, I can't answer that right now, and I'm sorry. Of course. However, mad props to the dad for actually asking the question. Because, like, truly, wouldn't you want to know that? I would want to know that as a friend, let alone a parent. I'd be like, so, like, how do you...
It's a good question. It's a genuine question,
It's a genuine question.
Yeah.
I thought it was just very real. So props to Rick.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is that so they talk a little bit back and forth, Peter and Rick, and Peter tells him, he's like, hey, I'm in, like, I was planning on telling Hannah Ann, like, I'm in love with her, and I, really have these strong feelings, and, like, I'm really happy about this. And the dad gets kind of emotional for a minute. And I think that I've always wondered about this, and you see this in a lot of the father figures that are on the show, is that these men are deeply emotional, and yet they have all of these barriers in front of it because he gets emotional, and then he says something that is, it sounds strange, but then if you think about what he's trying to say, I think, it actually is really interesting to me. He says to Peter, like, if you would listen to me, I don't want you to tell her that tonight. Until it's like a sure thing, until you're 100% sure that she's going to be like it, like, I'm concerned that you telling her that will be hurtful if it doesn't end up being her in the end.
So, but here's the thing. The way that you just said it was not what he said.
Well, did you
so
say
what
it better
you,
more?
Yeah, so I wrote down the quote, because what you just said was, I would prefer that you not do this.
Got it.
What he said was...
I was going for the intention of it.
I'd rather you not say that. Do not say that word to her. And so, again, it's this language thing, right? Like, and I know that this sounds so nitpicky, but all we have are our words. And so the difference between, if you say this, it means this, and I'd really rather you not, if he had just ended with that. But when he crossed into, do not say that to her, he is now telling him what to do.
Yeah.
And that, for me, then went in line with, he also has control over giving her away.
That's, yeah. And see, I think I know what he was implying that I know what he's trying to get at.
Totally.
Like, hey, I'm being protective. This is a damaging thing.
Yes.
We learned earlier she hasn't been in a ton of serious relationships.
Yes.
He's looking out for her in the way that he can understand.
Which is beautiful.
And also the value of using the words that mean exactly what you say are really, really important. And if anything, it shows the fallout of zero education in our country around communication.
Yeah.
And how to actually communicate your emotions effectively rather than just say something that you heard your parents say and their parents said and blah, 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 women are property.
Correct.
Dowries.
But I also think, too, that this is a great example of intention versus how something is said. So, like, I don't know if you have ever experienced this, you guys listening, and let us know if you have. I know I have, where someone has said something to me, I respond, and then they say, oh, wait, how did you interpret what I said? And I'm like, well, it's what you said. And they say, oh, well, that wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard that?
I have.
Right. And, like, we've said that
I've
to each
said
other
it.
before. Like, I mean, I've definitely been on that side of it. It doesn't really matter. Like, it matters what our intention is, sure. Like, it's better that it's not malicious,
Right.
obviously. But a car accident is still a collision.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get in your car and be like, you know what? I'm going to hit someone today. Or I'm going to hit another vehicle. That doesn't mean that you still didn't hurt the other person.
Right.
So being really clear with the language is the best way that we can match up our actions with our intentions. And so the difference between I would rather you not say that to her tonight between do not say that to her tonight. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
And guess what, Rick? It doesn't matter.
Because he tells her anyway.
Peter and Hannah are talking, and he tells her he's falling in love with her. And then she says she's in love with him, and they make out. And that's...
And frankly, this was like the sweetest part of the episode.
Well, and I did notice that, I mean, like, she's been criticized before, both on the show and on the show, that she's so produced and comes across very pageanty and very model-y and, like, very controlled, and all the answers are the same. She was not like that.
Yeah.
She looked more and acted more real, and whatever that means in this context of a show like this, tonight than I had seen on last night's episode than I had seen yet so far. So it was nice to see a more not human side of her. It's not my intention. But a more emotionally connected version of her.
And genuine.
Genuine. That's the word. Thank you. Drive me crazy.
I was really glad that he told her because he's feeling it, and frankly, hiding it isn't going to prevent her from being hurt. She's in it.
It was her words. She's in it.
Like, her knowing that he's falling in love with her is not going to make, if they don't end up together, it's not going to make that any easier.
No.
And I also, like, this kind of brings up an overall theme of this episode, too, of parents wanting to protect their children from feeling hurt and feeling pain. And we can't prevent our kids, our friends, our partners, our brothers and sisters, like,
right.
We cannot prevent people from feeling uncomfortable or feeling pain. And frankly, it's doing them a disservice when we do that.
Well, a great metaphor to go right along with that is that, let's talk about cooking for a second. Burning yourself is a byproduct of cooking because heat makes the food. So, if you, as an adult, have experienced many burns cooking in your lifetime, the way the parents are operating in this relationship sense is they're like, oh, I don't want my kid to get burned, so I'll just not teach them to cook.
Yes.
Instead of acknowledging that is part of life. If you are going to exist in this world and have a relationship, you will get hurt.
Whether it's romantic or not.
Any form of relationship.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes if your dog doesn't want to cuddle with you on the couch, your feelings are a little hurt by that. And that's a version of a relationship. So these parents are suggesting to their kids that just don't get hurt. But that's not how a relationship works.
Or that's their deepest concern is them getting hurt. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're on The Bachelor or you're in real life. I mean, they're in real life, but you know what I mean. You're still going to be hurt. I've been hurt by my brother, and I've hurt my brother before.
Yeah. And no one told your parents just to not have kids so you wouldn't be hurt by
And
that?
you're an only child, and there were things that you were hurt by being an only child.
Right.
Like, you can't prevent that.
Right. And so having the parents try to prevent something that is a natural byproduct of existence,
Yes.
they're not helping their kids. If anything, you teach your kid how to cook so they burn themselves less. In this case, it would be what? How to talk in an emotionally connected way and be honest and to listen. That would be the version of this in relationship sense, but since we're arguing over dads giving away daughters, I don't think they're really there yet.
But also to grieve and feel discomfort, right? The only way that we grow as people is to feel discomfort and then feel it, sit in it, and evolve through it. That is the only way that we can grow. Growing is uncomfortable. We don't grow when everything's just status quo. It just doesn't happen. We're going to lose people in our life. We're going to have death. We're going to have tragedy. We need to learn how to feel all of the feelings. Yeah. And so that's why I was so glad that Peter acknowledged where the dad was coming from and chose to do what he truly felt was the correct thing for him.
Right.
And I know if I were Hannah Ann, I would be glad, even if it didn't work out with him, I would be glad to know that at some point he felt that with me, then he didn't, or he did, but my dad told him not to say anything, and so he didn't. I'd be like, Dad, come on!
Yeah, it was, they're not doing their kids any favors by doing this. So we go to Iowa with Kelsey, leg lock number 2 of this episode.
Wait, one last thing.
Oh, I jump ahead?
No, you're totally cool. There was just one last thing that I wrote down. At the very end of Hannah Ann's date, she tells him, I'm in love with you. I love you. And she says those words. And we get this ITM of Peter that literally sums up the entire season. So Peter's sitting in the ITM and he goes, all I've wanted is that validation.
Great, buddy.
And I was like,
you rely
this
on the
is why
fact
we're
that,
in this mess.
Yeah, like, why don't you rely on the fact that you know you're there and they're there for you, and that's literally the validation you need. However, I do understand being concerned about that because I think that one of the contestants is definitely not there for him.
We got a question in the chat. Was what Peter did disrespectful at all to Hannah Ann's dad? I personally don't think so. I don't think that either of them were disrespectful, frankly, to the other. I think that Hannah Ann's dad has every right to express his thoughts and feelings and make a request. And Peter, as an adult, a 28-year-old adult, has every right to take that in and then make the decision that he's going to live with for himself. So I don't think, I don't think that it was disrespectful at all.
Just because someone asks you to do something does not mean you have to do it.
Yes, correct. We have someone in the chat who lives in Tennessee, and they say it's so backwards and so far behind in the times that they feel like they're living in another century. So thank you for sharing that. It's very helpful to hear.
So we go to Iowa next. With Kelsey, they go on. So this is something that I appreciated about this date, and no, I didn't appreciate this because it didn't happen. I appreciate, this is my issue, one of my issues at the hometown dates is that often it's like, oh, we're going to go see where this person's from, and that's a big deal. And then they go to an axe-throwing warehouse. Cool, that's totally where you live and all you do there. No, it's not.
Wait, Hannah Ann doesn't just go axe-throwing every day?
Well, her dad probably does, because that's what a real man would do.
Real men
what?
Would.
And it's so stupid.
Rah.
And it's so trivial, too.
It's like Gaston. That's all I can think of.
That's the thing that always, I can't, like, I think I've said this on every single season so far, because there's some sort of wood chopping something.
Not always. It's been recent.
Okay, it's this recent thing. And
since you've been watching it.
Yeah, I was going to say, not that I've been watching it. As someone who has cut down trees with an axe and has chopped firewood, my penis does not, like, grow more, or, like, I'm not more masculine afterwards. I don't understand what the measurement here of this is. Like, it's not...
Dead. My penis doesn't grow
When someone asks me, like, what guy stuff are you... I don't, like, it's not a thing. I'm not, like, going to the random strangers in the street, and I'm like, hey, I chop firewood. When Rachel and I met, I wasn't like, hey, I chop firewood, and she was like, oh my god, marry me. That's not how this works. If you would have
said that, I would have been like, cool, bro,
so
bye.
How I say it, too. Hey, I chop firewood. Like, that's my thing. I have cut a tree down. But that's because I'm from the forest. That's what they actually had to do. It's so overproduced. Anyway.
Oh my god.
At least Kelsey takes Pete. I'm forgetting everyone's names right now.
I'm dead.
Kelsey takes Peter to...
My penis does not grow. Guys, I'm I'm going to make a fucking quote image of that. That's going to be all over our social media. Okay.
All right.
I'll collect myself now. Live filming, everyone. Live filming. Woo!
Okay.
All right, go ahead,
anyway, so Kelsey
babe.
actually takes Peter to a relatively local thing they do in Iowa. What? It's so weird. It's not like a... So, I mean, they go wine tasting and grape stomping. So, my own nitpick, these are not the grapes they turn into wine. This is purely an ornamental thing. Those are eating grapes, not wine grapes. They're very different. They're not Concord grapes. It's like a whole thing. But they go wine tasting and wine blending, and that's really, really cool. And I like this a lot because
Kyle's on one.
they're not around other people. And even you'll see it happens later on. They're around a ton of other people in some of the hometowns. Even at the axe throwing thing, there's a bunch of people watching. And if I'm putting myself in a contestant's shoes, if I'm bringing the person, the bachelorette in this case, home to my hometown, I'm going to do the things that are the two of us doing something that is from my hometown. I'm not going to go to a warehouse full of people. I'm not going to go to a concert. I'm not going to do anything. What Kelsey and Peter did was a pretty intimate, quiet experience just for them.
It was an actual
in her
date.
hometown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they did wine tasting. They made their own wine blending and sampling. It was super cool.
The chat got real quiet after your penis comment.
Everyone's probably still laughing. Or Googling chopping firewood penis enlargement ? I think you have to put parentheses around both of those to get the search correct. Anyway.
Please don't search that. Go incognito. It'll change everything.
Don't they still track your cookies incognito?
I
Anyway,
don't know. Okay.
So I wrote down for most of this date, it's cute and dumb. They make out a lot. He's happy, she's happy. They make out. It's cute.
But frankly, like, this was the most
But that's a date.
real life date out of all of them, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is just Kelsey's journey on this show.
This is a real date I would do this date. Like, this seems fun, right? You just go stomp on some grapes, even though it looked cold and that was confusing in the beginning.
We're like, okay.
Yeah, like,
and they get to
date.
blend wine, and it's something that if I were dating someone, I would want to go do with them. Or
Absolutely.
even with you, like, I'd want to do with you.
I'll stomp grapes with you.
I mean, we're technically dating because we're married. Like,
It's long-term dating.
it's like I'm in a long-term dating relationship.
So, Kelsey sits down with them. They're now drinking the wine. They bottled and blended and all the great
Which
stuff.
is so cute!
Oh, yeah, and they get their own bottle, their own label and everything. It's super cool. She tells him that she is in love with him and has known it since Peru and wanted him to know that before he meets her family. That's great. And this is what I like about Kelsey. Ever since the whole champagne thing went over and was fine, her existence kind of normalized a little bit, she has been cards on the table the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she is here. She's like, we're on this date. It's fun. You're meeting my family. I'm in love with you. I've known since this day. Here I am. What do you think? And he's like, cool. Thanks for telling me. I'm in.
And truly, the hometown date was exactly on track with what we know of Kelsey. You know, Mom and Peter, Kelsey's mom and Peter sit down, and her mom asks him, have you seen how emotional Kelsey is? And it's like, yes, this tracks.
Yeah.
This is da-da-da-da-da. And she says when she loves like no other. And this also tracks with what Kelsey has said.
Yeah.
And so we're getting just these validating things that, like, okay, what we've seen from Kelsey is Kelsey. You know, and again, like, Kelsey's mom is like I don't want my kid to be hurt, and we've already talked about that trope.
Yeah.
But honestly, what I will say is something that stuck out to me about this date in particular, and then actually we can move on to Maddie's, is that the stepdad was so much more likable with Peter than most of the, quote unquote, biological, the stepdad was more likable than the biological parents, than the biological fathers, because he did not have that same, like, I own you vibe, because it's not his biological kid. But I found it so interesting that because it's not his biological kid, he actually just showed up as, like, a person who cares deeply about Kelsey.
Yeah.
There was no ownership.
And he's, like, asking her, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, how's this? What do you think? Chat. people in the chat letting us know how Google works.
So for podcast listeners, if you're wondering, they track cookies in incognito, but it's unique to that browsing session. They go away when you close the session. So Google away.
Everyone's now
Thank you,
Googling
Matthew.
chopping firewood penis enlargement. Yeah, so I we can go to Maddie's thing pretty soon. I liked Kelsey's family. They were happy to see her. She hadn't been home in 2 years, we hear really quickly, so obviously she lived somewhere else, and like they do their different thing. It was really cool. They had her favorite food waiting.
Yes!
And like Peter had never had a crab rangoon. Like it was cool. Like the family showed up for her. They weren't super
possessive.
Controlling. Yeah, I was going to say controlling, possessive. The mom did say some strange stuff, which was she tells Peter she's good at reading people, and he entered the room easily. Which sure, I don't really understand that. But shares that she is shocked that Kelsey brought him home, and it's been a long time since she's brought anyone home. And then mom doesn't want her to be hurt because of her life experience, and she's trying to protect her kid from having the same experience as she had.
Which
even though that may
again,
be limiting her kid's ability to grow in life.
Same conversation.
Again, I like that Kelsey admitted to her mom she was crying a lot.
Yeah, it was just, again like it was just very validating.
And
so
they make out and exchange love words is how I ended that.
That's not inaccurate. So we're halfway through this episode, thank goodness. While we just take a breath and Kyle takes a sip of water, I just want to remind you all that our show is being sponsored by the wonderful Stand Up New York, which we would typically be at. Blame my sore throat and the rain, which is fine. This is actually our room, so welcome to our apartment in Brooklyn. We have nothing on the walls yet.
I was going to say, we need to put something on the walls.
Yeah, we just recently moved in. But this is your reminder to make sure that if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're subscribed on whatever platform you're listening to. If you're on Apple or Stitcher, give us a rating and a review. And if you're here with us on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. Whoa, that just made us go out of focus. Haha. Give this video a thumbs up. I see that there are so many of you on live with us, and a fraction have clicked that thumbs up. When you click the thumbs up, it tells YouTube, hey, this video is actually interesting, and I give a shit about it, and maybe other people will give a shit about it too, and then YouTube boosts the video up and lets other people know, hey, this is probably something that you want to see if you're interested in The Bachelor. So thank you so much in advance for all of that. It helps us, and if you're in New York City, go check out Stand Up New York on the Upper West Side.
Yeah, it's amazing there.
Okay.
Back to, now we're in Auburn, Alabama. We are meeting Madison, leg lock number 3. And they go to the, basketball arena? I wrote down, my phone autocorrected, do basketball's place. That's what I have from this. So they go to the arena that she used to play basketball in when she was in college. And
sports.
They are greeted by, on the Jumbotron and everything else, like, oh, Madison and Peter, hearts. And then, who cameos with a video on the Jumbotron, but Charles Barkley, who apparently went to the same college, and lets Peter know that he better not break Madison's heart, or else Charles Barkley's coming for you. Which is, this felt to me like, when you're bringing like a new crush or like a new date around, you want to like bring your really cool friends around. I feel like they had to like bring a really cool famous person in to like kind of pump up the date they're playing basketball for. They're like, hey, here's Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool, Peter? Don't you like Madison more now? She's friends with Charles Barkley, I think.
I will say, and I want to say this right off the top of this date, if it were not for the fact that Madison is actively hiding something very important from Peter, I think that they're the best together.
Yes.
The fact that she is hiding something so important is making it very challenging for me to support the growth of their relationship, because I know that this giant thing is there. So I just want to get that out off the top. I think their chemistry is great. I actually think that if they talked through things, that they could be great together. It's fun seeing them together. He's playful. They also can be serious. They both care about their families. Like, there's so much good stuff there. And Madison is actively choosing to not tell him something that is so important to him. And she knows that. And so I'm having a really hard time as a viewer not getting stuck in that.
Yes. It is difficult to want to keep watching their interactions because after everything and the amount of times that Peter has said on the show, I really want you to be honest with me. I'm asking for honesty. That's why I'm here. I'm doing this. She is choosing to hang on to. For now, it's too long. She's dug her own grave in this. Because if you tell him right away, I understand not wanting to be like the first date being like, hey, by the way, I'm saving myself for marriage. I have this really deep faith, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, maybe not the first week, but after that first week, you sort of got to get that stuff out there. Like, use, for example, Heather M. on Colton season, where he's like, I'm a virgin. She's like, I've never kissed anybody, and that's who I am. And she went fairly far in the show, and so it didn't limit her time. Like, they're obviously just not compatible, but now Madison's been hanging on to something that is relationship ending. If he does not see compatibility with it, and she's hung on to it intentionally for too long, and that's, as Peter, I would have a problem moving forward, even if it was okay with me. Correct. I was like, oh, you wanted to save yourself. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because now we're at Hometowns, and I feel like you waited until it would be so painful for me to say no.
Correct.
That I don't think she is manipulative. I think this is a manipulation.
100% agree.
Yeah,
yes,
I
agree completely.
That word gets thrown around a lot in the show. I throw it around a lot in the show, and so she's not a manipulative person. This was a manipulation of the scenario.
Correct. And I don't think that it's an intentional manipulation. I think that in her mind, it's something so personal because of the way that sex is framed in her religion.
Yeah.
That it's such a personal thing that for her, it's like, I'm not going to talk about this on TV or with this person until I'm at this point.
Right.
However, imagine dating somebody, them knowing that sex is a really important thing for you.
Highly featured on the previous season.
Correct.
Highly featured.
And he's talked about it.
A lot.
And then somebody's not telling you. For me, that would be an issue of trust. That would be like, what else are you not telling me?
And, as we were led into at the end of the episode, it's not just between the two of them.
Right. She says to him in the clip of next week something very similar to what Luke Parker said to Hannah Brown, which was basically, if you have sex with one of the other people here, I can no longer date you. And
that's not how that works.
Now, she has every right to have her own beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
She has every right to even say from the get-go,
mm-hmm.
hey, I know that there's fantasy suites in this process.
Yep.
I know that there's a chance that you may sleep with other people.
Yep.
I in no way want to control your experience. I also know that I do not want to have sex before marriage and that I want to be with somebody who isn't going to sleep with other people during this process. So if that's something that you want to do during this process, I'm probably not your person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But to get all the way to this point, to have built the emotional connection, to have built the relationship that they have, and then throw that out, it feels more like an ultimatum instead of this is what my belief system is, and I'm going to stand by that for myself. Yeah. In Luke's case, it was very manipulative and...
Right. To me, this seems more coming from a place of a naive perspective on life.
Naivety,
thank you. Whereas Luke was a douchebag because he's like, well, I had sex in college, and then Jesus talked to me in the shower, and then I changed my mind about everything, and now I'm saving myself again for marriage. Whereas Madison's never had sex.
Right.
And so I understand it more from that perspective.
And Jess in the chat says, I wonder if there's a part of Madison that is saving herself because that's what she's been raised to think and believe. I agree with you, Jess.
Well,
and
I was curious about that. I want to respond to that.
No, go for it.
Well,
and then I'll respond to J Jobs because I want to respond to that.
Respond to J Jobs, and then so the Jess thing is what I want to talk about coming up.
Okay, great. So J Jobs says in the chat, double standard. Our society accepts that ultimatum from a woman, not a man. So I agree with you that society does more so for sure. On a personal level, I don't think ultimatums are okay regardless of gender. Yeah. Male, female, non-binary, doesn't matter. An ultimatum's an ultimatum, and I don't think that ultimatums are okay in any relationship.
Yeah.
I do think it's okay to say, these are my beliefs, and if your beliefs don't align with my beliefs, maybe we're not going to be together. But that's not an ultimatum.
Yeah.
Right? So I agree that our society has a double standard around that in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to clarify what we were saying, because it's not, an ultimatum is not acceptable from anybody.
Okay. So we get a quick thing of Madison talking to the camera, sharing concerns that her family won't like him dating other women. And the fact that he's currently dating other women on the show.
Wait, did they know what show she was going on? I don't
honestly,
understand.
I've always been confused. I'm always confused when that comes up. So anyway.
I don't get that.
They go to her house. It's really, really nice. They have this whole special plate thing. So whoever has a special plate in their family, they get a round of compliments from everybody because they have the special plate. And they have, I don't know, food. So this is something really interesting. So Jess says in the chat, hold on. Right, Jess. Says in the chat, I wonder if there's a part of Madison that is saving herself because that's what she's been raised to believe. I thought that too. And I was waiting to see a very similar dynamic between her dad as Hannah Ann's dad. Where he's like, well, it needs to be my permission, and then she can blah, 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 whatever. However, both Madison's mom and dad said the same thing a couple of times. And it's what makes me really... I'm confused, and I need more information around this to fully make a decision about how I feel. They keep saying her personal spiritual decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It is Madison's personal spiritual decision. She chose this for herself. So, on one, tinfoil hat theory, that's them making it look like they didn't indoctrinate their daughter to have their own belief systems. However, it's not uncommon for a religious family to have varying levels of belief within their family unit. So, it is very possible that Madison, growing up in, I believe, Christian household, at some point was like, you know what? And I want to save myself for marriage, and I need to have someone who's going to support me in that, and that's what I want. And while her parents may not have adhered to that ideal, they're like, sure, you do what you want to do. That can be problematic in today's culture, but whatever, go ahead. So she may be actually choosing this herself. Her parents may not have been, they're obviously supportive of this, but I don't know if they were really in on the foundation of this belief. And that's what
that was unclear.
They kept saying that, and that's why I keep going back to him. Like, I don't know where that is, because she wants a spiritual leader, but that's confusing. Yeah,
so they pray, they do a cheers to new beginnings, and they toast with sweet tea, which was interesting. Did I miss something around that? Like, do they not drink? I don't...
Maybe this could also be to say, welcome to our house kind of thing, like Southern hospitality, and this is something that is part of our life down here. It would be like drinking Coors in Denver or something, you know what I mean? Where it's like part of...
Sure, yeah.
It's like a societal thing. It's like if you're in Napa, like they'll serve you like wine. Like it's a normal thing. Like it's what happens in that area. Sweet tea is part of an offering that you give to a guest, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was anything... I assumed it. Who knows?
I don't know. I loved the special plate thing.
Yeah, that's cute.
And then we break off into conversation. So Maddie and her mom go and just reflects that, you know, she's really happy that she's happy, that she needs a lot of time to open up, and that time seems to be the most limiting factor here. So expressing that concern. The phrase saving myself for marriage got tossed around a lot.
I wrote that down too.
And
what are you saving?
Yeah, I mean, our culture has created, you know, virginity is a societal construct, right? And this idea that, we don't even have to get into this right now. I'm going to pivot. So Maddie's dad and Peter sit down, and Peter expresses to him how he feels about her. And the dad asks him back, how can you assure me that that's genuine?
Valid, right?
Here's the thing, though. How do you answer that? So if I say, Kyle,
okay,
I love living in New York so much. I love it here. I don't want to live anywhere else. And you responded to me and said, how can you assure me that that is genuine? My response would be like, I can't. I'm telling you the truth. I can't assure you that it's like what?
Well, see,
you know what I would ask back? I would be like, how can I assure you that it's genuine?
Yeah. Well, because that would... I like the way you phrase that, though, because now I'm like, well, how would I answer that? Because I know if someone asked me that, like, well, how can you assure me that your love of New York is genuine? I know how I would respond, but what I would say is so generic and unnecessary that if you just taken me at my word and trusted what I said, it wouldn't matter, because my answer to that would be like, oh, I love the people, the energy, the food, and blah, 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 and all the things. Okay.
And then still, how can you
still
assure
just,
me that that's
you're
genuine?
You're listing things that would need to be explained anyway, so... it's one of those things. That's the problem that I have with almost all these hometown dates, is that it's the intention is what they're going for, not the actual thing they're saying.
But how do you answer that? How can you assure me that that's genuine? I don't know.
You could be like, well, I keep giving her a rose each week, so like that's all I got. I just keep giving her a rose, and she keeps coming back. So
I felt for Peter in that moment. I was just like, I don't what.
Her dad also used the word pure to describe Madison.
Oof, yeah.
That's just not a diamond.
He also says that it is his job to protect her.
Oh, yeah.
And
what happens if it's the heartbreaking warning again?
Yep.
Don't break her heart.
And then Madison and her dad are talking. And this for me was the most disturbing part of her date.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So her dad says that they prayed over her as a baby for her future husband.
The phrasing was, I prayed over you as a baby. It was the dad doing the praying for the future husband.
Now, there is nothing wrong with prayer. There is nothing wrong with religion. There is nothing wrong with praying over a baby. There is nothing wrong. All of these things individually are completely fine. There are so many assumptions that are being made about this baby with this statement. So, he's assuming that she is going to be female. Like, she was born with a vagina, so therefore she has to be female, which we know is not always the case.
Right.
Then there's the assumption that regardless, let's say she is female, that she is going to be completely heterosexual.
Also that.
So what if she grew up to like women? What if she is bi? What if her sexuality is fluid?
What if she's asexual?
Like, yeah.
Like, what if there's no one else in the picture?
What if she's asexual? What if she's demisexual? What if she... There are just so many different things. And then 3... Why is that the thing that we're praying for this child?
Well, like,
health.
Less taxes.
No.
Something practical. Yeah, health. Happiness.
Less taxes? Are you really bringing politics and tax into this?
A happy world future for this child. I hope that this child can go do things that I'd like to do with my child. Like, I want to have... But anything besides an external... Not even validation, like it's such a weird... How about this? Another great way of saying this. I am hoping that my child has a supportive partner in their life.
Yes. So, Jess, in the chat, you asked, did either of you grow up around super evangelical types? That question, the phrasing. So, the phrasing is not what either of us have an issue with. Praying over someone is fine. That phrasing is totally fine. The difference is exactly what is being said in the chat right now, is that it is putting an expectation that she's expected to get married, and not only that she's expected to get married, but she's expected to get married to a male.
That's true.
So that is the issue for me, is there's an assumption there that the right way to do it is this one way. And that is, to me, not okay.
Yeah.
I understand that there are many people in this world that still think that being gay is a choice.
Yeah.
There are many people in this world that are committing hate crimes against people in the LGBTQ community. How we start to get away from that is allowing people to just be who they are. So when I hear that he prayed over her, that's a beautiful piece of it. When I hear that he prayed over her for her husband, that's the part that I don't like, is because it's putting an expectation on this child of this is what your future is going to look like. And if you don't do this, you're wrong.
I'll even look at this through a different lens really quickly. So he said that he prayed for the husband over the baby and all of that. Life provided this guy who might be the husband to the baby. And now you're showing skepticism? What does that show about you and your own beliefs? Because if you asked your spirit, who often moves in mysterious ways, common phrase, this guy is now in her life, and she's interested in him, and he is interested in her to the point where they wanted the show together, and now she's bringing him home to meet you, which is also a big part of their life they've chosen. So why is he being skeptical that his prayers are not literally coming true in front of his eyes? Shouldn't he be happy and supportive of Peter for that sake? Because the show's goal is engagement, right?
Right. No, that's
so why
that's
are you looking at your own prayers coming true?
That's a very interesting perspective.
You should be happy with what you have. Anyway.
So again, it's not a criticism on religion.
No.
So Jess said in the comments, just to respond to what we said, she said, "Oh, it's definitely so problematic. It's a reason why I left my own hometown. Didn't mean to imply that I think it's fine just because it's the norm." Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So, and thank you for that clarification, Jess. I think it's so important to acknowledge that one part of something can be problematic and the other part cannot, right? Religion as a whole can be a very beautiful, supportive, wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
We've also all seen the horrible side of religion and people murdering other people in the name of a religion.
When one of the main guidelines is don't kill people.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So, we've all seen the flip side of that coin, and that's all that we're saying is that with this, there is a flip side to it.
Right.
That's all.
So the family thing ends. They make it outside for a while. She's quiet and nervous, and then we find she's unable to tell him that she loves him because she's trying to figure out if their spirits and souls are compatible. So I have a problem with this.
I don't, because it sounds like language that I actually don't understand. So if anybody does know if this is a common phrase, please let me know.
Well,
but
my curiosity behind this is how similar to the dad being questioning of Peter when his wishes were that someone like Peter would show up. How do you know when your soul and spirit is connected? Are you waiting for a sign? Is there something else? The fact that he has been understanding of what you've shared with him so far around her own religious beliefs and wants, because she shared that she wanted a spiritual leader that was reminiscent of her father in her life as her partner. And he was like, cool, I know a lot of people who would be out with that alone. So he's still there, he's showing interest, he's moving forward, and that she's still hesitant. Well, I don't know if our souls and spirits. I think what she's saying is, I don't know if he's going to want to be with me when he finds out the secret that I've been keeping.
That's possible.
And my summarization of all of this is what we're seeing is a 23-year-old becoming worried about how serious this all got and using her only frame of reference, which is religion, to cope with the stress and to manage how she's really, really feeling worried about the secret that she is holding.
That's totally possible.
Yeah.
And just before we end the talk on this date, J Jobs in the chat says, you two are speaking of a hypothetical America in 2500, maybe not today. And here's the thing. I agree with you that it's not the America that we have today.
Here's the world.
The only way, though, that we're ever going to get there, whether that is tomorrow or in 2500, is by starting to have change.
Yeah.
It's not going to just flip overnight. So there's a line in this Broadway musical, Hadestown, that is based on Greek mythology and the character of Orpheus. And it says that Orpheus was able to see the world how it could be in spite of the way that it is. And that is how I personally choose to look at our world today. I try to see how it could be and try to take steps to get there so that people can just be who they are, religious, not religious, gay, not gay, anywhere in between. Just be you.
Yeah.
And that is where I'm coming from. So yes, I acknowledge with full acknowledgement that that is not how our country is. That's not how most of the world is right now.
Right.
But the only way that we're going to start to get there is by taking tiny little baby steps.
Right. And even in portrayals of futuristic societies, there's still the same guidelines of problems. I mean, even look at Star Trek. That's supposed to be way in the future, and they've got, unified human species, and there's still a lot of problems. So who's to say what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it all goes back to Star Trek. Anyway, so yeah, blah, blah, blah. Madison's hiding stuff, and
that's
she's
it.
now struggling with it.
So then we
And
get to what the rest of the episode is, which is this
Oh my god.
exhausting date with Victoria F. Can you guys let us know in the chat? So first of all, just if you're here with us, if you're watching this video, click the thumbs up button. Let us know you're here.
So,
Can you just let us know in the chat what you thought in like one or two words of this date with Victoria F?
So while I'll write that out, I did leg lock number 4. So Victoria has a dog inexplicably. We didn't know she has a dog. There's just a dog in this scene. The dog. So they start hugging on the beach. The dog is gone, and we find out the dog is just running around in the water, doing what he needs to do. And then I wrote down, I want to run into the water. This dog is everything. The dog is just living his best life. It's been really enjoyable. I also have my tinfoil hat theory that Victoria in the production had known that she was getting some bad flack, you know, the cosmopolitan whole white supremacy issue. And she brought the dog along, similar to how many politicians have done in their life, to soften her appearance and demeanor, because everyone likes a Labrador, and it's an adorable Labrador too. Where this dog came from, I don't really know. We don't see it much after this. Except when she's feeding him ice cream off a chocolate-covered cone, which is so irresponsible. Chocolate is toxic to dogs, and I was so annoyed. Anyway, that's fine. That's it.
I'm sure you all can see my face right now.
So
For podcast
fucking
listeners,
stupid.
it's the face of, I hate that we have to talk about this date right now.
Okay, well, let me break down the beginning part of this fast. They do something that exists in every single town in all of America, which is an old-timey photo booth thing. That's nothing to do with Virginia Beach. That's nothing to do with your hometown. This is a waste of time. Then, turns out Victoria speaks like Ari does. Wow, I like that. I like this. Hey. That's most of her vocabulary. I just described 75% of the words she uses. Then, they go to some party place, which is the opposite of what Kelsey did, because nothing says, show me my hometown, show me how you live, show me what you want to do.
Like Hunter Hayes performing.
Like going to I would say first 3 one-on-one style dates for the entire... She's like a week 3 date that she took them on for their hometown. Some random place outdoors with some music, and they dance in front of 1 million people with 1 million phones. That, to me, says intimate hometown understanding about where this person comes from. Or it backs up my theory that she has to hide from being one-on-one with him because he will ask a question she does not want to answer, and then will have to evade and be confrontational and be difficult. So she supplies people around them all the time to take the center of attention directly off of her and to make it more difficult to connect. That's why she is better on group dates, and that's why she loves dates like this, because then she's just not having to engage with him. Oh, wait, there's drama, though.
J. Jobs is like, Rachel, come back to us. I have left my body.
This episode took Rachel away from all of this.
It did. Part of me died when I watched this. Amaya in the chat says, Victoria and Peter are the definition of toxic together. You are absolutely correct. So we do not, I want to emphasize this, we will not, do not, ever, 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 ever diagnose anyone from watching a show.
No.
We are getting an edited version, even somebody who clearly is very manipulative like Victoria. It's still edited, it's still produced. We are never going to diagnose somebody. Please take that into account for what I'm about to say, because I'm not diagnosing. I cannot repeat this enough. They are the archetypes of the people pleaser and the narcissist. And that is a combination of people together that is so toxic and damaging for both people that are typically very attracted to one another because of many, many, many reasons, which we don't even have to go into. But if you want to learn more about that, I wanted to give the language to look it up.
Yeah.
I am not diagnosing.
No.
This is not a diagnostic session. Okay.
Before we get into the drama, I did take one note. We get a shot.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay Jobs. I know the reason I say this so much is we talked a lot about Luke P. On Hannah Brown season and got a lot of comments and emails basically
suggesting we were armchair diagnosing.
Correct. And like in a very, very negative way. So I just want to go over the top with that. So that's why.
So one quick, my own personal take from the party version or the party time of the date where they're dancing in front of a million people. We get an extended shot of someone's phone screen filming them already on a television show. So we, the viewers, are watching our TV screen, and the TV screen is showing someone else's phone screen, which is filming the actual subject that we're on the show to see, and I wrote down, it's the end of culture.
Yeah. Okay, so the first part of the date, really nothing happens.
Enter Marissa from 2012.
Yes, and Marissa finds him and tells him, essentially, like, red alert, bro. Like, I think that you're a great guy. Yeah, they dated. Victoria F. has broken up other relationships and, like, don't just stay away.
She lives in Virginia Beach, too. So
I am so sorry, guys. I just have to step away from it. My throat is killing me, and I need to get another cough drop. So can you continue on a drop? Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My show now. The right reason. Get it? It's just the me. Okay. Anyway, so Marissa comes up. She's like, hey, Peter. Peter's like, what, Marissa? Oh, yeah, you're from Virginia Beach. They dated back in 2012. And she's like, hey, I know you. You're cool and nice and normal. Victoria's not those things. She's broken up multiple relationships. I gotta tell you, red flag. That's all I want to say. Although she kept doing the thing that I don't love where she says, this is all I'm going to say is this, and then says something else. Then this is all I'm going to say, and then says one more thing. And I'm like, okay, where's your line of what all you're going to say is? However, he gets a serious warning from an ex of his saying she cannot be trusted. She has broken up multiple relationships. That's all I know. The end. And he is shook. And then he asks, where was it? Oh, that's down. Never mind. I was doing ahead there. Anyway, so he's like, oh, okay, thanks for telling me. And then Peter looks shook afterwards.
Yeah. Thank you for waiting. Podcast people, you probably don't give a shit, but for people who are on live, I just... so where did you get to?
We got to... Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, he asks Marissa, do you know how serious all of this is? Like what she's saying.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, yeah, dude, I'm warning you. That's, of course it's serious.
So
on national television, thank God they blurred her face. I was worried they gave out her name too many times. Like,
here's the thing, though, and I agree with everybody in our comments are saying, like, I wish that she delivered more information and was more specific. My feeling is that production 100% told her what she could and could not say, which
I'd buy that.
Is so frustrating.
I'd buy that, though.
But I don't think that she was trying to be vague, especially with her face blurred out. Like,
no.
There was clearly, like, she did not want to be known. So... Okay, this gets into the part of the date where you guys, I wish you could have been a fly on the wall while we were watching this episode because I had the Apple TV remote in my hand.
Oh yeah, you took the detail. Oh,
yep,
yeah.
I wrote down basically like a transcript of what they said, and Kyle and I are going to read it because...
Do we have to?
Yes. Because...
Oh, God. Okay.
It was one of the most unhealthy conversations I have ever seen on television. Ever. Ever, 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 ever.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Here we go. Okay. So Peter gets to the house, and they sit down on the steps. And Peter tells Victoria exactly what happened. He says exactly what she said, does not accuse her of anything, and he says, I guess you be Peter.
I mean, I can. She told me that you've caused a lot of other relationships to end, and those were her words.
So then Victoria immediately gets uncomfortable and defensive.
And he says, you can see how that would put me in a bad headspace.
I'm disgusted right now.
He says, Victoria, have you not heard my words?
No, I haven't, because you literally just told me.
But she interrupts him. He's like, have you not heard my words? And she cuts him off right around, have you not heard? No, I haven't because you blah blah blah. I literally just came up to you and I asked you.
So much drama all the fucking time.
And then Peter finally, for a brief glimmer of time, showed some insight and it was like, do you think that I enjoy this? Do you think that there's any way that I couldn't address this? That I couldn't just go into your house and meet your family after being told that?
Then I don't want to do this.
Can we just talk?
What am I going to say? There's nothing to fucking say. Okay, let's talk it out. What are we going to say?
Then Peter just says, just asking for the truth.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore, Peter.
So you're just giving up on all this?
You literally just come in here and act like that? Are you kidding me?
And then Peter does flabbergasted face, which is the literal note, and says, excuse me?
Okay, so let's pause right there.
God,
So
she's killing me.
There is zero response to what he is actually saying. Through the end of the episode, we do not hear anything. And this is why I was so infuriated that he gave her the rose. Not even the communication stuff. Like, yes, that's awful and horrendous and plenty of reason to not give her the rose.
Plenty of reason.
She never answered him. She never addressed it. So she legitimately... So first of all, for her to say, I'm disgusted, when he asks her this, if you did not do anything, why in the world would you be disgusted by someone coming up to you and saying, this girl, who I know, who you know, said this? If nothing had happened, she would have simply said, wow, that is... I'm shocked. I have never done anything like that. I don't know where she would have gotten that from.
Yeah, what can I do to show you that that's not who I am?
Done.
Literally anything besides the active act of being guilty.
So then, when she comments, it's so much fucking drama all the time, and he's like, do you really think that I enjoy this? You know, how do you think I can go into your house? This is when she throws the Hail Mary. Then I don't want to do this.
Yep.
And when he says, can we just talk? And she says this, what am I going to say? There's nothing to say. There is something to say. You respond to what he said to you. Yeah. She literally evaded everything he was saying, which is why this was so frustrating to watch. Okay, so we'll continue.
Oh, I have to keep reading it?
It's like an absurd play.
All right. Flabbergasted face. Then he says, excuse me.
Excuse you what?
So, in this moment, obviously, I have not been on national television, the lead on a dating show, but if anyone that I'm having this level of serious conversation with, like, go back in dating history in my brain, if I'm having a serious conversation with anybody I'm dating, and they respond that way, I'd be like, oh, I'm done, because you can't communicate with me in a respectful manner.
Which?
The, excuse you what? I'd be like, oh, no, now I'm finished, because you can't respond to me like a human being would respond to me.
Yep.
The way she responds shows exactly who she is. Disrespectful and mean. And we've seen this pattern the entire time. And I wrote down every single time she cried in this entire scene because she mocked and shamed other women for crying to Peter. I can't stand her. She's terrible.
So excuse me. Excuse you what?
I just walked up here. I did not accuse you of anything. I simply told you what happened.
You were supposed to meet my family tonight, and you decided what Marissa told you was more important than meeting my family.
You acted out like What is this right now? Why are you being like this?
I just have nothing.
You're fresh. This is one of my favorite lines that Peter said, and I was stoked right now in this part of the episode watching. I think it's, have you ever fought for anything that you really wanted?
Kyle, I wrote down exactly what he said.
Do you ever fight for anything that you really want?
Yeah, I do.
I've never felt you really fight for this. This being the relationship.
You really haven't? That's funny.
I'm being 100% real with you. I feel like every time it's been me trying to talk you down or you wanting to give up.
Okay, then, okay.
It's funny because she used okay in both its spellings there. Just the O and the K and then O-K-A-Y. I think that's funny. Then he asks her if he agrees.
No, I don't agree. I do not agree. I don't agree. How many times did you say that, you guys? I do not agree. Which, by the way, can we just acknowledge the fact that what he said, when he said... Wait, where did it go? Oh, he said, I feel like every time it's been me trying to talk you down or you wanting to give up. That is legitimately what has happened on every date that we've watched. And he's like, do you agree with me? And she's like, no, I don't agree. I don't agree. I'm like, watch it back. That is exactly what you've done.
Yep.
And yes, I know hearing this again is probably making, I know.
I'm annoyed doing it.
I'm annoyed reading it, but we need the context and it's just ridiculous.
I want you to be realistic, and then she leaves.
I am so done with this conversation right now. And then she gets up and walks away. She says, I'm done. I hate this. I can't catch a break.
And once again, we see the person who's manipulating the situation, portraying herself as the victim to make the people pleaser bend to her will, which we have seen in every single date, every single time that she will feel any discomfort and not get exactly what she wants. She cries, victimizes herself, puts that energy on Peter to get an apology, to get a rose. It's a 5-step process, and I hate it. And it happens every time. And I hope that somehow McKenna sees our podcast, YouTube show, or anything. I really feel bad that she made fun of you for crying so much, because this chick cries every single time she's with Peter. Every time.
Yeah. So she walks back up to him, and she says, I don't know what to say.
Mostly, I'm sorry that I'm like this. Please leave, because I'm not healthy for you to be around.
That's not what Peter said.
Oh, but I thought that's what she was going to say. Got it. It's wishful thinking. So, he says, I didn't come in here trying to attack you, and I'm sorry if it came off that way, and it came off that he was taking someone else's side. This is the thing. He now sees the victim in front of him, and he's locked into people-pleasing. So he's not able to control this part of himself, which is mind-numbingly frustrating.
And this is the dynamic that I was talking about when I gave the whole preamble about not diagnosing anyone.
Yes.
This is the dynamic between someone who can have narcissistic tendencies and a people pleaser and a people pleasing tendency, is that the narcissist will make it completely about them. And again, I am not saying that Victoria has narcissistic personality disorder. That is not what I'm saying.
No.
But this is the dynamic. And it was so painful to watch, because you see Peter switch into, well, now I have to take care of her. Mm-hmm. Now she is upset. Now I have to take care of her. And okay. So then she said, these are my favorite 2 lines though. Oh, yeah. She says, how are we supposed to move forward from this?
Peter says, by having a conversation. And
that's the best thing. That is the best thing he said.
That he doesn't do it. He doesn't hold her to this shit. And I put the blame for this. I don't think Peter's like this in real life, but I think he is on the show, because if you look at how the first 4 weeks on the show went, he had to apologize at every rose ceremony, every cocktail party, every group date, every one-on-one. They made him apologize so many times for things that were not worth him apologizing for. All the drama between the contestants alone, he had to apologize for. So now he is locked into this victim help thing.
So there's a question in the chat I want to address, and I'm so glad. I love when you all ask questions like this.
Yeah.
So Jess says, is it true that you can have narcissistic tendencies without having a full-on personality disorder? And the answer is yes. So we all human beings, have some characteristics or tendencies of almost every single psychiatric diagnosis.
Yeah.
So if you were to go to a university and take abnormal psychology, which is basically a study on all of the different diagnoses, whether it's a mood disorder or personality disorder, you would look through the stuff and be like, oh my God, I have everything. Because there are tendencies with almost every diagnosis that we all have. So yes, almost all of us have narcissistic tendencies that can come out in different situations.
Yeah.
Now, some people may have more So, like, it's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So here, will you hold my mic for a sec? I need to use my hands. So if over here is 0 and over here is a diagnosis, like diagnosable, whatever it is, anxiety, like a mood disorder, personality disorder, most people, it's like a bell curve, right? So most people kind of fall somewhere here where they have some tendencies of it, but they're nowhere near diagnosable, but it's also nowhere near nothing. And then there are some people who do like have absolutely no tendencies of anything. And then there are people who fall into the category. So I hope that helps answer your question. Yes, exactly. So just reading things online, right? And that's why it's so important to not try to diagnose yourself with anything, even as someone who, I can diagnose people. I have to when I'm in practice. If I'm using any form of insurance, I cannot diagnose myself. I cannot diagnose Kyle. I cannot diagnose people that I'm close to because I can't see it objectively, right? That's part of why the therapist-client relationship is so special, is because it's this intimate yet objective relationship.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers it.
I don't even want to like end the end of this. So she cries a bunch. She just keeps crying and then lies to him, saying it's hard. She's sad. She hasn't gotten what she wanted. She's sad. She's lying. She's crying.
And then he leaves, which
family.
I legitimately thought that was going to be the end for a minute, and I was really excited.
Yeah, me too. Blah, blah, blah. So
next morning?
She's got to be better than this. She never addressed the warning. She got defensive and angry and did everything she could do to ruin the conversation to make him feel bad instead of actually addressing what was going on.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Then the next day, she comes to his hotel, and he's so I hate seeing you so sad, and blah, blah, blah. And so she says the Hail Mary love thing again.
Yeah, so here's the problem. She says right away, I'm so sorry for how things went down yesterday. Which, coming from someone who does not have this history of manipulation, would be a very nice way to kick things off. The problem is that I didn't believe her. To me, that was I know how to start this conversation off. Yeah. So I'm going to say this. And then she does the I'm falling in love with you, which is like kryptonite. And he says, I hate this, but I don't think you want me to love you the way I want to love you. I feel like we have no communication skills. So let's unpack this. I hate this. Valid.
Yeah.
Cool. We can all agree on that?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think you want me to love you the way I want to love you.
Also, pretty powerful statement and true. Well, it's true because he's saying it about himself. It's his own thoughts.
Right. Okay. So, cool. I don't think, right? He's saying thoughts. Now, I feel like we have no communication skills. So while it's true, they have no communication skills.
No.
That is not a feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel sad that we don't have communication skills. I feel angry.
Well, it's so poor. You know, our communication skills are lacking when it comes to each other.
We don't have communication skills.
Right. I mean, he's had hard conversations with other people. We've seen it, and it's been fine when both people are able to empathize and communicate with each other. In this case, we don't see empathy from Victoria or
Correct.
Acknowledgement or personality.
Well, and so I wrote down he communicates his feelings and fears very well, and she frames it as her trying really hard and not being good enough for him. So again, she's framing it as, I guess I'm not good enough for you. I've never tried this hard. Come on, like...
People please all over me.
Yes.
So he asks her, why do you walk away when it gets tough? And then instead of responding, well, she says, I don't know. And then she basically gives him an out, but reminds him that she's falling in love. She says, if you don't want to do this, I get it, but I'm falling in love with you. That is manipulation. Because she's saying, well, you can go, but if you do, you're walking away from what you want also. Maybe.
And let's acknowledge, she still hasn't talked to him about what that girl said to him at the concert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What?
This is how she's framing. This is what I wrote down in all caps. You can go if you want, but know that I'm falling, so as a people pleaser, you will hurt me by choosing what's best for you. That's what she's doing to him. And that is so unfair. So he's like, I don't want to make a decision right now. She leaves. She cries a lot more. I wrote in all caps, wow, lots of crying there, Victoria.
Only because she has made fun of so many other women for crying.
So
we go to a commercial. I was very happy that they didn't kiss goodbye. I don't know why, but that like stood out to me, and I was like, yes. It was like the one win of the thing.
So they go to an airplane hangar for the rose ceremony. Did you know that Pete's a pilot? That's why they're in the airplane hangar, I think. Just a theory. I think that it's an airplane hangar themed rose ceremony because he's a pilot. I could be wrong, but what are you going to do?
Oh, this was one comment we forgot to address this. He says 99% of our relationship is good, and but the 1%, blah, blah, blah. Based on what we've all seen, it's like the opposite.
Yeah, it's like 70% bad, 30% good.
Sure. If the good is physical chemistry.
Yeah. So
maybe.
We get, individual shots of each contestant, all the women coming into the rose ceremony. Madison talks to Chris, Hannah Ann talks to Chris, Kelsey talks to Chris, and they're all like, I'm nervous, but I'm excited, and we'll see what happens, and blah, blah, blah. And there was such a different energy when Victoria comes up. She's like, hey, Chris, I'm here. And everyone else is like, okay, I'm hopeful. And she's like, okay, I'm here.
Also, again, still hasn't addressed what, was it Marissa?
Marissa. So, rose ceremony, go right into it. Hannah Ann, Madison, Victoria. Kelsey goes home, and she says in the limo that she is shocked, and I am too. I didn't think she'd make it this far anyway, but I'm surprised that she went home before Victoria, who
I'm not.
I know why all of it's happening. I'm aware of why this is happening. However, the difference between her and Victoria is so drastic, and she's like, here I am, here's all of me all at once. Victoria's like, you know nothing except for what you can see in front of your eyes.
Yeah. I don't really have any more,
So at the end of this is what I wrote down all of this.
So
I said, have fun in paradise, Kelsey.
So they sit down and talk. To Kelsey before she gets in the car. And Peter does say it meant the world to him to hear that she loved him, but he just wasn't there. And you know what? Honestly, that's great. Fine. And that was very clear, at least to
decent
me.
Acknowledgement.
They were not going to end up together.
No.
And I think that they both grew in the process of knowing each other. And frankly, that is a successful relationship.
Totally. I hope that they would be friends moving forward from this because whatever.
And Kelsey handled it so well.
Oh, yeah.
She stayed very composed.
Oh, yeah. We got to wrap up a little bit.
They're going to Gold Coast, Australia, which sounds amazing. I want to go there.
Yeah, I also think the production needs the 24-hour travel time to figure out what the fuck they're going to do moving forward. Even though it's already recorded, but I think they needed that travel time to build up something because something is very unsettled here. And I think that at this point, if they had the ability to go over the cosmopolitan issues, more and more, I see the travel time as a decision to make to pivot, but who's to say? And at the end of this, I am pretty stunned because going into this episode, Madison was still my front runner in general because of, everything. And now I'm leaning towards Hannah Ann only because she's the only contestant going to Fantasy Suites that isn't actively lying to Peter. And
hot take.
Hot take. I think Hannah Ann is my front runner because she's currently not lying to the lead.
This is where we are.
Of the dating. This is where we are. So we're here. There's a great GIF that I saw earlier.
Allie in the chat says, I saw the commercial for next week and I'm already annoyed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw a great GIF earlier of Hannah Brown dancing in this really, really jokey, gimmicky way, and one of the training things from Dancing with the Stars. And it's her reaction to seeing how, I picked Jed and that was bad, but watching Peter doesn't feel bad anymore. She's kind of happy dance celebrating.
So we get this voiceover of Maddie saying, I don't think Peter knows how much I'm struggling. Which is correct, because guess what?
You haven't
told him. So how the fuck would he know? No one is a mind reader. If you're struggling, you need to tell him. If you love him, you need to tell him. You just need to tell him all of the things. And Victoria, you still haven't answered the damn question. Which obviously is an answer to the question, but like...
Yeah, you don't have to like, no, I didn't know this. She's asking like, oh, what specific details? What specific couples did I break up? He's like, hold on. That sounds like there is couples that you've broken up and you're trying to figure out which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, just anything besides how she responded. Like, I've never done that. I'm really hurt that that happened. Who said this to me? How do they know anything about me because that's not who I am? Literally anything. Yeah. Anything besides her reaction would have actually removed the guilt. And yet, here we are.
And look, you know, Arlene says, I agree with Kyle. Hannah Ann is the only one who has not lied. It's not even agreeing, Arlene. That's just the fact. Like, she is the only one left who has not lied
unless
to
she
Peter.
has some massive secret she's going to drop on him in Fantasy Suites, which I doubt.
Yeah.
She's the only one currently not lying.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. J Jobs. The bar is now who has not lied to me. Cool. Great. You win.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't lied to me and you'll not give me control, like you won't control my sex life. And, okay, cool. Let's get married.
Yeah. That definitely sounds like modern romance.
I will
Great
say,
standard Bachelor franchise. ABC, you're really putting forward a healthy perspective in relationships for America. Great.
Fuck. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Keep in mind, apparently, the best thing that a guy can do to show a girl that he likes her is write down 20 things he likes about her. And that's, like, it.
I can't. So my mom had this theory a couple weeks ago. And remember... Oh my God.
So we stay unspoiled.
So remember, we stay unspoiled. So please, please, please don't ever send us spoilers.
No.
Send us, like... anything that's going on, like outside of
something funny,
but like nothing about the ending.
No.
My mom, who also watches the show, both The Bachelor and our show, so hi mom, or listens to the podcast actually, more likely. She has this theory that the woman that Pete's mom is talking about in the preview that we keep getting, where she's like, "Bring her home," is actually Hannah Brown, and that Pete and Hannah Brown are going to end up together. And when she first told me this, I was like, oh God, I hope that doesn't. This was weeks ago. And I was like, I hope that doesn't happen. That would be, I hate it. And now I'm like, can Hannah Brown just come back? Like, I'm so at the end of my rope with this season that, like, honestly, I just don't. I just want,
So... I would be very annoyed if Hannah Brown is the surprise ending of this. Because of...
I would too.
But do you know why, though? Because then all of this entire time spent doing this, not that we don't love doing the Right Reason show, would be a giant fucking waste of my time.
But it is because
we're just watching Peter do the thing that we wanted him to do in the second episode, that now we're like, oh, we had to wait all of this and watch Victoria just be a giant jerk the entire time just for the end of this?
Wait. Hold on. Wait. Our chat here says that Nick Vial likes Victoria F. Is this true? If this is true...
I don't think your Halo Top ads are good anymore, Nick.
Wait. No. Okay. I need data. Someone please send me evidence of this on Instagram or Twitter.
If you want data, we can watch Star Trek.
I love you. All right, guys.
Let's end this episode.
Let's wrap this up.
Please.
We don't want to make it go on any longer than we all have to. Don't forget to give a thumbs up to this video. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends. And, you know.
Hopefully the next episode is better. And I mean that with its entirety.
Okay, so... if you guys listen to his podcast, can you, on Instagram, send us the episode that he talks about it?
Yeah.
Because the only episode that I've listened to of Nick's podcast was actually the one that he had Pete on recently. So if you can send us that episode, that would be great, because I would really love to hear that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We have 70 of you with us live, which is so... Oh my God, this is hilarious. Lucy, she says, you have to listen to his podcast, but don't. Yours is far better. Thank you. Wow.
Huh.
Tell Nick. We would go on Nick's podcast. That'd be fun.
I would fly all the way to LA to do it.
Would you guys like to hear that, actually? Like, would that be a conversation that you'd want to hear? Can you let us know?
Yeah.
I'm very interested to hear that. Well, we'll see you next week, where the show is going to make all the women stay together during Fantasy Suite, which is not something that they usually do. And
I think they just want Victoria to have to be shouting at more women with a glass of wine in her hand, like we've seen multiple times already in this season. I think that's what we're going to see. Glass of red wine in the hand, shouting at another woman for doing things that she personally has done.
I feel like I need another shower after this.
Yeah.
All right.
I need a glass of wine after this. During this? Definitely during watching. Anyway,
all right.
That's the episode of Right Reasons. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stand Up New York, for being our regular sponsor. We'll be back there hopefully next week. And
for those of you in the chat who are saying that you'd love to see us go on Vile Files, tag us both in posts. Please. That is the only way that something like that will happen and we'll get connected, is having social media stuff. So tag us both on your Instagram posts, tag us both on Twitter. Exciting. All right, friends. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.